It was a cool September night in 2017 when 19-year-old Kenneka Jenkins left her home on the west side of Chicago. She told her mother she was going out with friends. Nothing unusual, just another Friday night. Her mom, Teresa Martin, kissed her daughter goodbye, not knowing that this was the last time she would see her alive. Kenneka was full of life. Friends described her as funny, stylish, always laughing, always moving to music. She was the kind of person who filled a room with her energy. She had recently landed a job at a nursing home and was excited about building her future. Her friends leaned on her because she was loyal, because she stuck around when others drifted. For her family, she was a bright spark, a young woman just stepping into adulthood with the whole world ahead of her. That Friday evening, Kenneka met up with a group of girlfriends. They were headed to a party at the Crowne Plaza Chicago O'Hare Hotel in Rosemont, a suburb just outside of the city. The party wasn't official. It was a hotel room booked for the night, one of those teenage gatherings where word spreads fast, and soon a room meant for 4 is holding 20 to 30. Drinks were flowing, music was loud, and someone was recording videos for Facebook Live. Those videos would later become crucial pieces of the puzzle, but at the time, they were just teenagers showing off their night out. Kenneka was seen in those clips. She wasn't the loudest person in the room. She wasn't the one doing the most on camera. She was quieter, more subdued than usual, but she was there, visible, moving between friends. By around 1:30 a.m., she was still with her group, still part of the party. At some point after that, the details become murky. Her friends later said that she disappeared after going into the hallway. According to their version, she had her phone, her keys, but then her belongings were left behind in the room. They said she walked out, and when they went looking for her, she was gone. Panic grew as minutes turned into hours. By about 4 a.m., the friends called Teresa, Kenneka's mother. They told her they couldn't find Kenneka. Imagine that phone call, being woken up in the early hours by a group of your daughter's friends, saying that they lost her in a hotel. Teresa immediately drove to the Crowne Plaza, demanding answers. She pleaded with hotel staff to review the security cameras, to check the footage, to help find her daughter. But at that moment, the staff refused. They told her she would need an official police report. They told her it was too soon to act. That delay, those lost hours, still haunt this case today. Police were eventually contacted, but the urgency wasn't there. Teresa was told to wait, to see if her daughter would show up. For a parent, this is agony. Hours passed. Kenneka's friends gave conflicting accounts. Some said she went to the hallway to get some air. Others weren't clear. There was confusion, suspicion, and fear. It wasn't until nearly 24 hours later that the truth began to emerge. Surveillance footage finally showed Kenneka inside the hotel in the early hours of Saturday morning. The video captured her wandering through hallways, sometimes stumbling, sometimes steady, clearly disoriented. She was seen near the hotel's kitchen area. She was alone. No one appeared to be following her. No one else appeared in the frame. The last images show her moving toward a restricted area. Later that day, after desperate searching, Kenneka's body was discovered in a walk-in freezer inside the hotel's kitchen. The news broke Teresa's heart, and it sent shockwaves through the community. A night that was supposed to be fun had turned into one of the most mysterious and controversial tragedies in recent history. Authorities ruled her death an accident. The medical examiner reported that she died of hypothermia after being in the freezer for hours. Alcohol was found in her system, and traces of medication used to treat epilepsy and migraines. The conclusion was that she became intoxicated, lost, and accidentally trapped herself inside. But for her family, for her friends, and for millions of people who follow the case online, that explanation did not sit right. Social media exploded. The surveillance footage was shared everywhere, analyzed frame by frame. People pointed out the way she stumbled, the way her hands brushed the walls, the way she looked disoriented. Conspiracy theories spread fast. Some believe she had been lured there. Others believe she was chased. Some swore they saw reflections of figures in the footage that suggested foul play. The videos from the party room were dissected too, with online commentators claiming to hear cries for help in the background or to see evidence of a setup. The Rosemont Police Department faced a firestorm. Why had it taken so long to review the cameras? Why did they dismiss the mother's pleas in the early hours? Why did it take nearly a full day for them to find a young woman who was right there, inside their building? The department defended itself, saying it had followed procedure, that they had reviewed hundreds of hours of footage, that the investigation was thorough, but the trust between the public and the police had fractured. Teresa Martin, devastated but determined, became the voice for her daughter. She held press conferences, stood outside the hotel, and demanded justice. She said over and over that she did not believe her daughter simply walked into a freezer by accident. She pointed to the delays, the inconsistencies, the unanswered questions. She pushed for transparency, asking for every angle of the footage to be released, for every detail to be shared. The case gained national attention, not only because of the mystery, but because of what it represented. To many, it was a story about how Black women and girls are dismissed by authorities, how their disappearances aren't treated with urgency, how their lives are undervalued. Activists marched, chanting Kenneka's name, demanding accountability. Vigils were held, hashtags trended. The freezer where she was found became a symbol of systematic neglect and unanswered questions. The Crowne Plaza Hotel faced backlash as well. Protesters gathered outside, accusing the hotel of negligence, of failing to act when a distraught mother begged them to review the cameras, of failing to protect the young guests inside their walls. Hotel representatives insisted they had cooperated fully with law enforcement, but the damage to their reputation was already done. Theories multiplied. Some believed the friends knew more than they admitted. Others believed the hotel staff were involved. Some focused on the medications in her system. Others pointed to the freezer's door mechanism, questioning whether she could have opened it alone. The noise grew so loud online that separating fact from speculation became nearly impossible. But through it all, one fact remained. A 19-year-old woman with her whole life ahead of her walked into a hotel and never walked out. Her funeral in Chicago was packed. Family, friends, neighbors, and strangers who had followed the story online came to pay their respects. Teresa stood strong, but grief was etched in her face. She spoke about her daughter's light, about the injustice she felt, about her refusal to let the world forget Kenneka. For her family, this wasn't just about one night. It was about dignity, about the treatment of their daughter in death, and the legacy she would leave behind. As the months went on, the official explanation remained unchanged. Accidental death, hypothermia, alcohol. But the public conversation never quieted. Documentaries were made. Podcasts dissected the timeline. YouTube videos analyzed the footage endlessly. For many, Kenneka's case became a symbol of how quickly trust in institutions can collapse when answers don't satisfy the heart. Even today, years later, her name still trends online whenever discussions about unsolved or suspicious deaths surface. Her story still continues to spark debate, not only about what happened that night, but about larger issues, how law enforcement treats missing persons, how hotels handle emergencies, how young women can be vulnerable in spaces meant to be safe. For her mother, none of the theories matter as much as the simple truth. Her daughter went out with friends one night and never came home. That truth is unbearable, and it is a truth that drives her to keep speaking her name. The image of Kenneka wandering those hotel hallways remained etched in the public mind. Viewers watched her stumble, steady herself against walls, and drift toward the kitchen in the footage that felt haunting. To some, it looked like the tragic final steps of a young woman who simply got lost in a maze of sterile hallways. To others, every frame raised more suspicion. Was she really alone? Did someone lead her there? Was the camera telling the whole truth? These questions echoed far beyond Rosemont. For the Rosemont Police Department, the case was closed quickly. They held press conferences where they reiterated that their investigation showed no foul play. They cited the autopsy report, which concluded hypothermia as the cause of death, with alcohol and medication as contributing factors. They pointed to the surveillance footage as evidence that she had been alone. They insisted they had done their job, but for the family, that was not enough. Teresa, grieving, yet unshaken, spoke out repeatedly. She described how she begged hotel staff to search sooner, how she begged police to act faster, and how those hours could have made a difference. She asked the questions that many parents have asked in similar situations. Would authorities have acted differently if her daughter had looked different? If she had come from a different neighborhood? If she had been someone else's child? In the days after Kenneka's body was found, protests gathered outside of the Crowne Plaza Hotel. Dozens of demonstrators chanted for justice. Signs demanded accountability. Social media amplified the movement, spreading her name across the country and even internationally. In those early days, the hotel became a focal point of anger. Why had staff refused to review the cameras immediately? Why did they wait until police authorized it? Shouldn't human instinct, the simple urgency of a missing young woman, have pushed them to act? The hotel later expressed condolences and said they had cooperated fully with the investigation. But for many, those words rang hollow. People saw corporate caution instead of compassion. They saw policy instead of humanity. The freezer where Kenneka was found became a symbol not only of her death, but of how institutions can fail when empathy should be the first response. Online theories spread faster than facts. Entire communities of amateur sleuths formed around the case, poring over every second of the video, amplifying rumors and often clashing over interpretations. Some claimed you could hear her voice in the background of the party live streams, calling for help. Others said reflections in sunglasses or walls showed evidence of a struggle. Still others accused her friends of setting her up, fueling suspicion that fractured relationships and sparked threats. The noise was deafening, and for Teresa, it was another layer of pain. She had lost her daughter, and now she was forced to watch strangers dissect her every move and speculate endlessly. Yet through it all, she remained focused. She filed lawsuits against the hotel, seeking accountability for the failures she believed contributed to her daughter's death. Legal battles followed, with arguments over liability, negligence, and responsibility. The courts eventually sided with the hotel in many respects, ruling that the tragedy was unforeseeable. But the fight kept Kenneka's name in headlines, ensuring that her story wasn't forgotten. For the community, her case became larger than one young woman. It became a conversation about how society responds to missing Black girls and women. Advocates pointed to a disturbing pattern. Families who say their cases aren't taken seriously. Investigations that move too slowly. Media coverage that fades too quickly. Kenneka's story became a rallying cry, used in marches and conferences to highlight the need for change. Even as time passed, the images that night didn't fade. Documentaries revisited the case. Podcasts devoted hours to unraveling timelines. YouTube channels and TikTok creators analyzed theories and retold the story to new audiences. For some, it's about solving a mystery. For others, it's about keeping her memory alive. And then there's the personal side, the side that rarely makes it into the headlines, but lingers in the lives of those closest to her. Her family still remembers the sound of her laugh, the way she danced in the living room, the plans she had for the future. They live with the constant reminder that she should be here, that she should have had the chance to grow into a woman she was becoming. Birthdays, holidays, quiet evenings, all of them marked by absence. Teresa has spoken about her daughter's spirit. She describes Kenneka as someone who would not want people to give up. She has said that while she continues to push for answers, she also wants people to remember her daughter as more than a case, more than a hashtag. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a young woman with dreams. The freezer itself, that cold and industrial place where her life ended, remains a chilling detail in the story. People still ask, why was it unlocked? Why was it accessible? Could more have been done to secure it? The hotel eventually closed and renovated parts of its kitchen area, but for many, that detail remains a haunting symbol of neglect. The story of Kenneka Jenkins is one of tragedy, of unanswered questions, and of the community's demand for respect and dignity. It's also a story about how quickly a night of fun can turn into a nightmare, and how the systems meant to protect us often leave us exposed. Years later, the debate continues. Was it truly an accident? Were there warning signs ignored? Did the institution fail her family? The official record may state hypothermia and accident, but in the hearts of many, the case will always feel unsolved. For Midnight Verdict, this story is not about conspiracy theories or online noise. It's about a 19-year-old young woman who walked into a hotel with friends and never came home. It's about the mother who begged for help and was told to wait. It's about the freezer where answers froze with her body. And it's about the enduring cry for justice that followed. When we speak Kenneka Jenkins' name, we honor her life, her laughter, and her light. We also remind ourselves of the work left to do, to ensure that no family faces silence where urgency should be, excuses where compassion should be, and denial where accountability is needed. This is Midnight Verdict. Straight facts, no fluff. Remember her name, Kenneka Jenkins, a life of promise, a loss that still echoes, and a story that will not be forgotten. If you want more stories told with truth and respect, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support helps us keep their stories alive.